let's recap Dying Light. So you play as a man named Carl Crane who works for a company named Global Relief Effort, aka GRE, and he is sent on a mission to a city named Haran, which is being quarantined because the government is containing a viral outbreak from within the city walls. Now, Kyle Crane's mission is to retrieve a sensitive file stolen by Kadir Suleiman, aka Rise. The file supposedly contains an incomplete cure to the virus that could make things worse if Rise puts it in the wrong hands. Upon Crane's entry into the city, he gets ambushed and attacked by Rise's men, and in Crane's defense, he fires his pistol, which alerts a horde of zombies, which forces Rise's men to run off, leaving Crane to fend for himself, in which he then gets bitten by one of the infected. Crane gets saved by Jade Aldemir and a man named Amir, who unfortunately gets killed in the process. Crane then wakes up in a place called the Tower, where he was given antizin by a scientist named Dr. Zir, which is a treatment that temporarily stops the Haran virus from spreading throughout the body, but it doesn't kill the virus. Dr. Zir tells Crane that he has been working on a cure for the virus for a long time and has been experimenting by placing fresh meat injected with a serum to see if it makes a difference to the fully infected. Crane finds out that the tower is low on antizin and needs to get an airdrop supply, which is regularly supplied by the GRE. The problem is that he has to get it before Rise and his men, but when Crane succeeds, he is told by the GRE to burn the antizin supply to get Rise's attention, so then he can meet him and eventually return the stolen files. So he does. Now that the tower is in need of antizin, the only person that has any is Rise. So Crane meets Rise and he tells Crane that he has to run some errands for him in order to get 2 crates of antizin. Crane does so and Rise rips him off and only gives him 5 vials and states that if he wants the rest, he needs to bring him Jade so that he can put her in his arena where people fight the infected for his amusement. Crane declines this offer and is forced to try to find antizin or a cure elsewhere. Crane then learns that the GRE has decided to stop supplying airdrops of antizin to the people of Haran. A new strain of the infected is found and Crane kills the new infected, gets a sample and brings it to Dr. Zir. It turns out that Dr. Zir's meat experiment worked and that there is a very strong possibility of a cure, but the only way of completing the research and creating this cure is to get Zir's research to another scientist, Dr. Alan Camden, who has a fully functioning lab. Before Crane gets the research to Dr. Zir, Rise kidnaps Dr. Zir and Crane goes to save him. After saving Zir, Zir tells Crane that he gave his research to Jade because she was there and time was of the essence. Rise ends up capturing them both and goes on to releasing the incomplete cure to the public, and then reveals that the GRE was planning on weaponizing the virus by keeping the possible cure to themselves and selling it for profit. Rise then orders his men to kill Crane, then Crane kills the men and chops off Rise's arm, and Zir dies and Crane escapes. As Crane looks for Jade, he finds out that the Defense Ministry is planning on bombing Haran, claiming that there are no survivors left. Crane finds out that Jade is with a survivor group in Old Town named the Embers, who are trying to get a message to people outside of Haran so that they know that there are survivors left, in which they succeed. The GRE then get back in contact with Crane to retrieve Zir's research so they can convince the public that they were working on a cure the entire time, and in exchange they will extract him from Haran. Jade then gets captured by Rise, who steals Zir's research. After Crane finds Jade, he realizes that she has been bitten too, and both of them begin to get affected by the virus, and Rise offers only 1 dose of antizin to them. Jade forces Crane to take it and Jade becomes fully infected and Crane is forced to kill her. Crane ends up getting only half of the research to Dr. Camden, in which Dr. Camden tells Crane that he needs the other half of the research to continue the development for the cure. Crane then discovers that Rise is giving the GRE Zir's research for extraction from Haran. Crane and Rise come to a final fight on top of a skyscraper as the GRE arrives in a helicopter to collect the other half of the research. Crane kills Rise by throwing him off the skyscraper and rejects GRE and gives the research to Dr. Camden and stays in Haran to help the other survivors. In the DLC The Following, Crane learns from a survivor who was near death about a possible cure to the virus. With the tower running short on antizin and Camden's efforts to produce a cure still unsuccessful, Crane decides to go and investigate this claim of immunity. He heads out to the countryside where he discovers that many of the survivors out there have converted to a religious cult called the Children of the Sun, who worship the mother who is apparently the source of their immunity to the virus. In order to earn the cult's trust and learn more about the immunity, Crane decides to assist the survivors. Eventually, one of the Faceless, the high-ranking members of the cult, approaches Crane and privately admits that their immunity is gained through a special elixir that they had discovered. But like antizin, it only suppresses the infection and does not fully cure it. The Faceless also reveal that they are working on a permanent cure and promise that in exchange for his help, they will give Crane the cure to take back to Haran. Crane is then tasked with assisting a man named Attila who is working on an important project for the mother. Attila tells Crane that the Children of the Sun believe in a prophecy where a chosen one would rise up to become the prophet of the god of the sun and purify the infection. He also reveals that the mother was Jasmine, the wife of a local military colonel who was involved in the experiments that caused the outbreak, but he was bitten during the outbreak. Before succumbing to the infection himself, the colonel gave Attila a secret code that Attila passes on to Crane. Attila then commits suicide in an attempt to invoke the prophecy, but it fails to occur. Crane then discovers that the remnants of Rise's gang have also travelled to the countryside to search for the cure as well. Rise's thugs stage an attack on the mother's base in a nearby dam, but when Crane arrives, he finds both Rise's bandits and the Faceless all dead. Entering the dam, Crane discovers that the mother has been turned into a sentient volatile. She reveals that the dam was a secret military facility that held a special chemical substance. However, rather than being a cure for the virus, the elixir instead slowly turns whoever uses it into a sentient volatile, like it did to the mother. During the day, she is able to retain her mental faculties and has been given telepathic abilities in order to communicate, but at night, she becomes an uncontrollable feral monster. The mother tells Crane that the only way to stop the infection is to summon the god of the sun to purify the land, sacrificing everybody in Haran in the process. At this point, Crane can choose either to listen to the mother or defy her. If Crane chooses to defy the mother attacks, forces him to drink the elixir and attempts to kill him, but Crane eventually prevails and kills her. Taking what's left of the elixir, Crane leaves the dam, suffering continuous blackouts, and finds himself in a populated area seemingly outside of the quarantine, but discovers that his exposure to the elixir has already turned him into a sentient volatile. As night falls, the infected Crane lets out a feral scream as a nearby mother and her children watch in terror. But if Crane chooses to listen to the mother, she leads him to a nuclear warhead that was originally meant to be a failsafe to contain the outbreak. Crane inputs the code Attila had given him, which activates the warhead, presumably destroying all of Haran and killing all of the survivors and infected, taking the virus with them. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos in Dying Light on the lead up to Dying Light 2. This is Nick Keys. Peace!